Hey everybody, Mike Prill here from the Digital Transformation Project team, and I want to go over the new items for the 1.0.0.4 release, which is set to come out tomorrow, Tuesday the 14th. So this is the fourth version of the Phase 1 stuff that we created. Lots of little updates, nothing too earth-shattering, however, hopefully a lot of things that'll help make your guys' lives easier. So first and foremost, we have a lot of new instructor-related items. When we look at a contact record, you'll see there's now 4 or 5 new qualifications that someone can earn. If I can find them, here we go. So we already had RCI 1 and 2, and I've added damage assessment, core ops, ICS instructor, instructor 1 instructor, and assist instructor. So these are things that will now automatically be added whenever someone passes one of the train the trainer classes. So that is there. There's also now a related system view just called instructors. So inside of your system view area you should see this, and of course it's just going to be a list out of all the different instructors that we have. So this should correlate to what you see in people's contact records, but for a while there might be a mismatch while we kind of iron out the qualification engine, and also the fact that the user records have something to do with this as well. So if it's incorrect for a few weeks, that's fine, just let me know and I can help sort it out. The next thing is we have some roll-up fields for the number of contacts in an area, and those are going to be added to the metro, state, region, territory. So if we go into a metro, for example, here's Abilene. We now have a list out on the right-hand side of the number of gray shirts we have in that particular area, and then another one of the number of volunteer leaders we have. Because this is our dev environment, we don't have very many contacts in here, and so that's why you see these low numbers. But when we put this in production, it'll be obviously like the actual number of people that they have in that particular metro or state, etc. So that was the metro. If we go over to territory, it might be a little bit more exciting. So here we have 10,000 contacts in the territory, and 10 of which are volunteer leaders, but obviously these numbers are way off. Whenever you see this calculator icon, that means it's a roll-up field, which means that you can hit this button to refresh it, and that will basically re-add that total. So those are now available inside of the metro, state, region, and territory. And for those of you that want to be able to make a view or a dashboard out of that, those are now exposed for you as well. Over on the event side of the house, we've got a number of updates. First of which is we've got a additional date for the finance area. So if we go down, this is my fake Sawyer 1 class. If we go down to the finance area, you can see I've just got some fake money in there so that I can put in some information. We now have this preliminary funding date field, and this is basically designed for those events that require a little bit of funding up front for things like airfare, printing. Assist classes have a ton of books that you have to buy, so you got to do all that stuff up front. And then we have also the same field for final funding, so basically everything else. So the preliminary funding can be expressed here inside the text notes, and then you'd want to put the rest of that in there as well for the final funding. So just 2 different dates. Next, in the logs section, we added a couple things here so that if somebody actually puts in some values for some of these different things like shipping or kits or rental accommodations, there's evidently been an issue where they would leave this as no and then fill out a bunch of information, and it would never really go to the logs rep because that part of it was conditional on whether this box said yes or not. And so we've added some additional logic in the back end that if some of this rest of the stuff is filled out, then it will, takes like 30 seconds, but it will go and change this to yes, just so that we make sure that we capture that and the logs reps are notified. So in theory, if I refresh the page here, we should now see that logs support requested should flip over to yes. And there we have it. So that got added. The other thing that we added is under registration, we changed some of these views to add a few more different fields. So we've opened up the background check status for everybody so that anybody who's an event lead can make sure that the people that are coming out have a cleared background check status. We also added in the associated view We have background check right here, but then we also have the Metro, and in the production side, we have a contact link to get to write to somebody's transcript record. So it's not here in dev, but it is available over in prod. So those are both things that were added. The overall idea there is to try to make vetting a little bit easier and be able to more quickly kind of get through the list. And if we go look at a contact record, we've also made some changes there to make vetting a little bit easier. First thing we did was I moved all the vetting criteria up to the very top, front and center. And so this whole thing is the deployable status. So all these different things here combined will equal deployable. So if somebody is not deployable, then in theory you would have something missing here, so that it's a lot easier to figure out why somebody is not deployable. And then we also kind of rearranged some stuff, so hopefully it'll look a little bit less cluttered and get most of the information that you care about to the top of the list here. We've also added this field right here that just says whether someone's over 18 or not. And actually I accidentally clicked it, so it should say yes for me, unfortunately. And this field will get populated as soon as people log into the portal. So as soon as they log into the portal, it'll update this last successful login time, and that is the trigger that will come look at their age field, which most people can no longer see because we decided that that should be a little bit more restricted than it used to be. So this date of birth and age field, for most people, they can't see it. And instead they have this over 18 field because that's usually all people care about. Some of the mobilization roles can still see the date of birth because they have to buy people plane tickets. Outside of that, it's pretty much restricted. Nobody else can see it, just for privacy. The other thing that we've done is we've added some additional fields for a closeout section, and it's still here inside of event status and approvals. It's right here at the bottom. And this is so that territories can gather a little bit more information about how that event went, any lessons learned, what went well, any other information that the event lead or the instructor or whoever wants to add. And then most importantly, let's say that these were already set to approved, like this event has already happened. So we'll set those over there. Whenever the event is done, we've been kind of missing a mechanism for the event lead or the primary instructor or whoever it is to tell the approvers that they can go ahead and close out the event, because there's only very certain people that can go and flip the switch over to completed. And so what we've done now is you can fill out these fields here with the information that you want. And the most important piece is to make sure that the event registrations are set to complete, so that all these are set to attended, and if there's a result that they're all set to passed. And as soon as that happens, then you can hit yes. And as soon as you hit yes here, now you can also hit yes here. And as soon as I hit save, what that's going to do is going to send an email to whoever approver 1 is and just let them know that this event is ready to be closed out. And then they can come in and they're still responsible to make sure that everything actually happened, that all the fields look right up here, and then they can go ahead and mark it completed. So it's a little bit more checks and balances. There's been some events that have slipped through the cracks where the registrations were not up to speed. And it's especially important now because for things like a Sawyer class, these registration statuses and the result are primary things that are needed in order to make sure that people get the correct qualification. So that's a big deal now, or it always has been, but we've made it a little bit harder to accidentally skip it. Another thing that we've added is down here in the internal information. We have a couple new fields down here for how many total event hours there were, how many people are marked as attended, and how many people are marked as passed. And each one of these are a calculated field. So whenever you see this little refresh thing here, you should be able to click that and it's going to go and basically do that count. So we have 6 people that passed, we have 6 people that attended, and if we were to save it, we should see that total event hours will multiply our 6 people times our 16 event hours to get 96 in this case. So these fields are just available for us to be able to more easily calculate things later on in Power BI, or for people, if you want to create a view and export it, then you can add these fields as well so that you can total all that stuff up. So it's good for dashboard type things when you have these roll-up fields. Another thing that we've added is for an automatic notification to go out to the various reps and the approvers whenever an event gets canceled. And the reason is because, first of all, we have very few cancellations, which is great, but the cancellations that we have had, sometimes somebody still showed up, or the approvers weren't really in the know and they were asking, hey, whatever happened to that class? And then come to find out it had actually been canceled. So what we should see, if we were to cancel this particular class, if we flip this to canceled and say, yes, we're sure it's canceled, and hit save, we should see the name of the event get a big, huge cancellation notice. Anybody who was registered, in this case, we already have everybody set to passed, but if they were all still registered, they would get an email notification to cancel their calendar appointment. And what was missing was the people were not getting, the reps and the approvers were not really getting any type of word that had been canceled as well. So we've added an additional notification that should go out. And if we go look at what that notification looks like, it'll basically just say, hey, this has been canceled. This is to the event lead, but other ones go out to the reps as well. Any registrants will also receive a calendar update, and here's a link back to the event in case you want to go get more information. So another thing that we've added is a couple more options inside of the settings area for views. So normally people are in the volunteer management area, contacts and events especially, but if you click over into settings, there's a whole bunch of stuff here as well, but most of the interesting things are under extensions. So this is how you get to a lot of the other ancillary information inside of the VMS. Two new things that we've made sure are here. One is Event Instructor, and another one is Event Registrations. So if we click into Event Instructors, we should see all the active records. And this is basically the feeder so that you can create your own view for it if you choose to. So what I mean by that is I can sort and filter now by any of these things. And if I just want to see a specific territory, like let's say I just want to see the Midwest, I can filter by that, and then now that I've filtered something, I can go and save these as a new view. And these are just basically the event instructor records of events that have either happened before, if they're completed, or they are potentially upcoming. So because this is our dev portal, the data itself is really not all that great, but obviously when it's in production, it should be a little bit more meaningful for people. So that's it for this update. As always, most of these things were put in here because of feedback from you, the volunteer leaders, so keep that feedback coming. If you guys have any questions, comments, or complaints, those of us on the project team would definitely love to know. Please try to route that through your area change ambassador group. If you don't know who those are, just check with your local leadership and they'll be able to point you in the right direction. And we'll see you guys later.